New York Times bestselling author Ibram X. Kendi has turned one of his groundbreaking books about racism into a graphic novel. His 2016 book, Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America, won the National Book Award. But the book and its adaptations have been challenged in several school districts over claims it tackles divisive topics and employs selective storytelling. Now Kendi and illustrator Joel Christian Gill are releasing Stamped from the Beginning, a graphic history of racist ideas in America. It uses 5 historic figures, including Thomas Jefferson and Angela Davis, as tour guides to show how America's past influences its present. Ibram X. Kendi, also a CBS News contributor, joins us right now. How are you doing? Good morning.
I'm good. Good morning.
So it's been 7 years since you first released Stamped from the Beginning. Why did you feel like it was time now to release a graphic novel?
Well, I just believe in the power of graphic novels, the ability of comics to tell complex stories, even in a humorous fashion. And I'm just constantly thinking about ways to reach everyday people, young people and older people with this history of racist ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the illustrations are beautiful, and they do capture your words so beautifully. But you also add in humor. And some will say, well, these are some heavy topics. How could you tell jokes when covering stuff like this?
But Nate, that's what I liked about it, though. I mean, I was talking to him in the green room about this when they were talking about Lincoln in the Emancipation Proclamation on page 34, 134. You see the people running, they go, "We out." not we're leaving, not let's go, but we talk about the proclamation, then it's like, "We out," and you can see them really
We all enjoyed the humor.
Yes, I did. I like it, too. I thought that was a nice touch.
But why did you find that important to kind of connect those two things, humor and history?
Well, you mentioned the heaviness of it. Those are the times in which we need humor,
True.
right? To receive it, to understand it, to get through it. And I think Joel and I thought that was critically important. And there's a tradition, particularly within Black comedy, to talk about racism, particularly its ridiculousness. And I think that tradition continues in this book.
You know, one of the conversations animating politics today is the question of racism in America, the topic of this book, ideas that go back to the founding and even before. And Republicans on the campaign trail will say America is not a racist country. This book would say otherwise. What's your response to that political conversation?
Well, I don't actually think it should be up for debate. We live in a country where there's widespread racial disparities. Black people are more likely to be impoverished, incarcerated, killed by police, dying of heart disease and cancer. And that's not because there's something wrong with Black people. That's because of our policies and practices, which collectively are racism.
There's a line in the book here about racial equality sold as a slow but steady progression forward, which it sounds like you would say it's not. I think people on the right would say, but we should also acknowledge, should we not, all of the racial progress and improvements legally and otherwise.
So what we try to do in this book is show both. So there has indeed been racial progress, but there's also been what I call in my work the progression of racism. So like voter suppression policies today are much more sophisticated than they were a century ago. Just as you have, elected officials of color who weren't in particular positions a century ago. Both is happening at the same time.
Right.
No, you're right that people who held racist ideas were never simply products of their time, which I think is really on point, especially when we look at what is happening in the world today. How should we view figures like the Founding Fathers?
Well, the Founding Fathers some of them were expressing racist ideas, but there were people challenging them in their time.
Yeah,
like
you were talking about Thomas
Wheatley.
Jefferson a lot in this book.
Yeah, Phyllis Wheatley was challenging them. Benjamin Banneker was challenging them. Even a Rhode Island pastor by the name of Samuel Hopkins was challenging them. And so over the course of history, we've had both racist ideas and anti-racist ideas, and unfortunately, people chose to continue to express ideas of racial hierarchy.
It's interesting you'd be here on the same day that Amanda was just here in our last half hour, where her book has been restricted in some areas, and some people say your books are not age appropriate for children today. How do you respond?
I just think it's not true. I think that we create books like others do that are going to be able to reach children, that children are going to be able to understand, in which they're going to see themselves. And unfortunately, particularly Black authors, authors of color, LGBTQ authors, our books are being banned as somehow not age appropriate. So, I mean, what does that say? I think that's one of the things that Amanda talked about. And I could also say that what's really difficult for me as a parent is that books are being banned, but not guns.
Yeah. But you know, I think one of the questions people have is, what's the role of school? Is it to educate? Yes, but is it also to create a citizen, a patriot of a country who has a stake in that country, believes in it? And people on the right will say, well, this doesn't make people love America. This is the opposite of that.
Well, if you read Stamped from the Beginning, you'll see figures like Angela Davis and a whole host of other figures who were challenging critically this nation's laws and policies and figures to transform it, to make it better, to ensure that we all could live in a multiracial democracy where we're all equally valued and treated equitably.
No doubt. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Ibram X. Kendi, Stamped from the Beginning, a graphic history of racist ideas in America, is on sale now.